Leland from Speaker Hardware here. This time we're going to show you how to spray Duratex with a texture hopper gun. This is a really popular way to apply Duratex. You can get a hopper gun at any rental yard along with a compressor that's capable of running it, or hopper guns are available inexpensively from many places. The important thing about a hopper gun and spraying with a hopper gun is the compressor. You have to have 8 to 10 cubic feet of air per minute in order to keep up with the gun. When you get below that, it becomes very difficult. It takes a good sized shop compressor or an actual texture gun drywall compressor, which you can rent from any rental yard. Here's how you set the compressor. The compressor should have two gauges, one that shows the pressure in the tank, the other one that shows the pressure in the line. So what you do is you adjust this knob on your line until you get to 35 to 40 pounds. Anywhere between 30 and 40 pounds works just fine. That will allow your line to be the correct pressure to spray. With your gun, you want to use the smallest tip available for the gun, and you want to close it down on the trigger pull as far as you can. That varies how that adjusts depending upon the type of gun that you have. This particular gun is a Bond tool that comes with a smaller hopper than your standard texture gun, and I like that because it's a lot more maneuverable. It's also a much more expensive texture gun than your normal texture guns are, like say from Harbor Freight or somebody like that. About ready to shoot. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a thin film of water on the top of my bucket of Duratex. That's how you should store Duratex, is just put a real thin film of water on top of it. So I just want to mix that back in. Then I want to double check my gun and make sure that my trigger is closed as much as it will close. I want that trigger pull just to barely open for these first couple of coats. And I like to start off with just, about a pint. As you can see, I just use a ladle that I bought with a couple of ladlefuls, about a pint, maybe a little more than that in my gun. One of the reasons for not putting a lot in your gun is you're going to have to tilt the gun around. And what happens is when you tilt the gun around, you dump it out. So it's a good idea not to fill your hoppers too full. Okay, so we're ready to spray. As you can see, I have my cab up on my handy-dandy turntable sitting on pater points. If you do lots of boxes, this thing is invaluable. So I'm going to put on my respirator now, my safety glasses, and we'll have at it. And you'll hear as soon as I connect the compressor to the gun, it will start to shoot air immediately. That's why you need a compressor that can supply lots of air in a continuous fashion. Watch the video of me shooting with the airless, you can see the difference in speed between the two. But what the texture gun gives you a slightly different finish on the box. But the reason that first coat is slow and takes so long, if you try to put it on too heavy, you will end up with runs and sags and a train wreck. Voice of experience, shoot lots of coats. I usually shoot one coat just to kind of make the cab black. The next coat I will come back and thicken the film quite a bit to get it out to its correct thickness, and then the last coat I will shoot will be the texture coat. But you want to just kind of make the cab black to start with. If you try to go too heavy with that first coat, you will end up with a mess. and Duratex does not sand off very easily if you do make a mess. Time for the second coat. It's been about 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes. One of the advantages to do thin coats is it dries very quickly. You want to shoot some more while it's still just a little bit tacky. You can touch it and you can just feel your fingers barely stick. Now you want to open the trigger on your gun 3/4 to a full turn because we want to spray this heavier, and you want to start out slow to make sure it's not too heavy. Spraying into corners and crevasses like I did right there is probably the hardest thing to keep your Duratex from building up and getting really runny on you. You have to move quickly and really pay attention to where your Duratex is going. Make sure you move that gun in and out so it doesn't build up on high spots and turn into a big run. Third coat, this one gets us to the correct film thickness. The settings on the gun are exactly the same as what I used for the second coat. Now I have a glossy spot because the film is too thick. I'll fix that when I come back to the finish coat, but those kinds of spots are what you really want to avoid. Now we let that cure for a while and we'll come back and fix those glossy spots that I left, and we'll shoot the finish coat. Ready to shoot our final coat. Now the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to fix those glossy spots, and I'll do this just by doing just like a second coat right over the top. No setting changes to the gun. See it? It's right there, and there's another one right down here. Okay, now I'm going to change the gun settings. I'm going to open it up pretty big. You don't want to get too big because it'll splatter, and you will hear the difference when I pull the trigger. And also notice how far away I get from the box when I do this, because if you get too close it'll just build up. What we're looking for is a spatter effect on the box, and you can really change this to however you want depending on how you spray it. Sometimes you can end just with the finish like you see that I did right here. But I like a little bigger spatter than that when I'm doing this style of box. And that's it. It gives you a nice spatter finish on your box. I think it looks really good. You can really change that by the settings on the gun, how close you get, how far away you shoot from. When you shoot from very far away, like I was doing right there, you have to be careful, because in the summertime when it's hot, the Duratex will dry in the air before it gets to the box. And what happens is then you end up with a sandpaper finish. So you have to pay attention to your temperature and humidity anytime you apply Duratex. But that's how you put Duratex on with a hopper gun. At least that's the way I do it, and that's the way I like my finish to come out when I do a hopper gun box. Thanks for watching.